they're going to meet in one of these rounded, because that's what they look like. They look like this round object. We're going to have every single one of them be dedicated to a particular type of odor. Ever paid attention to the odors you can smell? We pick up on stuff that might smell nice, sweet, spicy, sandalwoody, musk, bad odors, good odors. We pick up on all of this because we have the ability to pick up so many different types of smells. When I was doing my grad work, because I was in chemistry because that's my minor, and had this professor. I think he kind of enjoyed torturing us, and he was doing this study on smells. So he had created an organic substances, mind you, which at the time I knew they weren't the best for you, okay? But you don't really get the full understanding of that until you're actually got a lot of knowledge behind you and realize, wow, that was probably not a good idea. And he had taken stuff, put it in all these little pieces of Reynolds wrap, and he was like, open it and sniff it, and write down what you smell. Right?
Anybody ever hands you something that says, here, smell this?
You just shouldn't. Don't do that. Well, hey, we were college kids, okay? And we did that.
Nope.
And I was like, okay, that might be why things are mixed up here. Just saying, And it was so funny because it was, even though it probably wasn't the best thing to be doing, okay, it was interesting figuring out the different smells that would get detected, okay? But anyway, I'm always amazed because I guess from doing that, whenever I walk into a store and I walk by the perfume counters and everything, I'm very aware of all these different scents. And then if I go to the coffee shop or to a restaurant or whatever the case might be, I'm very aware of the scents that are around me. When we do have exposure to those odorants, it goes directly to the olfactory cortex of my cerebrum. It has a direct connection for that sensory information. Now, smell is important. Believe it or not, it is how you are attracted to someone or not. And I don't mean attracted for just mating, okay? I mean whether you can simply just be in a meeting or be in a classroom or whatever the case might be with other people. Ever walk into a room and you don't even know like half the people there, but you look at this, as you look around, and you see one person and you're just like, have you ever thought about why? No. Because the person could still need a shower. You'd still give that, but deep down you're okay with them. You would still talk to them, you would still communicate. But there are others that can smell nice, look pretty, look good, whatever the case might be, but you're just like the hairs, ruffle up. Have you ever noticed that? You will now. Do you know why? You're both alpha. And you're picking up on that from the other person. And because all of this is instinctual, the instinct is to fight the other alpha. Isn't that how it works? Because you can't have two alphas. Everybody knows what I mean by that, right? Okay? Scent is the reason why. Nothing else. But it also is the reason you're attracted to your mate, the person that you do choose to mate with. Because instinctually, your goal is to make sure that you have propagation of the species, and that means to mate. And your sense of smell is going to help with that. When we look at the structure that we have, the structure will have our air all the way around us. It's filled with molecules. As we are exposed, we've got our mucus layer where these molecules can dissolve, and if a hair, which is the nerve cell hair, picks up on it, we're going to see it get an action potential started in that nerve cell. What do you note about this structure that's here for the nerve cells? And do you remember the glomeruli that I just mentioned? Do you see anything up there that looks like the rounded structure? Okay, now, what do you notice about my olfactory cells going into the glomeruli?
They're directly connected?
They go, it's like they converge. Like I've got so many of them, they have to make their way through the bony structure. They meet or they converge onto or into a glomerulus where, do you guys remember, the tufted and the mitral cells? Because they are synapsing on the tufted and the mitral cells, and those are going to carry their impulses directly to that olfactory bulb, cranial nerve 1, for that olfactory cortex of the brain. So this is the only sense that we have that is making basically a direct connection to the brain tissue. So taste, smell. Those are chemical senses. The next special sense, hearing and equilibrium. It used to just be hearing, but they have now created the special sense of equilibrium. This is going to be mechanical. All right? This is going to be a sensation that we're going to be dependent on the movement on the airwaves coming into our ear to start that sensation. Equilibrium is going to be how we're going to know our body's orientation, tumbling upside down, right side up, side to side, whatever the case might be. The body's orientation, movement, and balance. Our place in space. Both of these senses reside in our inner ear. We've got the outer ear, the middle ear, the inner ear. That inner ear is a maze. Just think of a maze that people actually, did y'all see the picture of the cornfield maze that opened up somewhere? It was pretty cool. They did like a view from looking down on it, and I guess they're going to let people walk through the maze, try to get out, you know. I was like, oh boy, I bet that's going to be fun. I bet they're going to have to go on and get a whole bunch of people. It was pretty cool, the maze they had created. We're going to have that in our inner ear. It's going to be this huge passageway, and it's going to have a bunch of fluid in it, okay? And we're going to find our sensory cells that are going to be present. The sensory cells for hearing and equilibrium, because we've got both. When we think about hearing, once again, your textbook is going to get very in-depth because it's going to talk to you about the hertz and the frequency and all this sort of stuff. And I'm not. You're not going to have a lot of that, okay? In testing, actually, it's going to be very little probably in your testing. But, you know, if you're going to go forward, it's like being an audiologist or something, then you'll get exposed to all of that. For our purposes, sound and what makes it up. For example, pitch, okay? Sound is usually too high or too low. In some cases, so high that it's painful. All right? Have you ever had something be so loud that it's painful? All right? My husband believes in surround sound. All right? And I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, you know, because it's like, make sure it's in 8.110, whatever it is, okay? And so, usually, we're going to see that we tend to hear, associated with sound, something called frequency. Ever heard of that? People who are, how many of y'all in here are like really into stereo equipment and stuff like that? Okay? And when you read or you go make a purchase or something like that, you're probably reading about the hertz and the pitch and the